first of all, I want to thank you for doing this.
No problem.
So much. And I know it's too early over there, so.
Oh, no, it's fine. I get up early. That's the thing. As long as it wasn't too early for you, it's fine for me. So.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm going around and interviewing all the podcasters from the NFC North.
Okay.
So I was wondering, how did you get involved with your YouTube channel with the other guys?
It just kind of slowly evolved, I kind of bounced around to a couple different websites, and honestly, most of it was social media. You get in contact with other Bears content creators,
Okay.
and and you kind of go from there, and then you hook up with a website, and then we create a podcast channel, and here we are.
Wow. So, how many years have it been?
I started doing Bears content. It was the last year. The first year I did it was the last year of Mark Trestman's time at head coach. So that was 2014 was my first year doing Chicago Bears stuff.
Wow. Okay. That's a long time.
Yeah, a long time. Now I've been a fan my whole life, so I've been a lot of long years with the Chicago Bears during my lifetime. But
yeah.
At least I'm old enough for some of the golden eras, as a little kid in the 1980s, which was the last time they were consistently good. So
true. Yeah, but they did make it to a Super Bowl in the 2000s, right?
Yeah, I mean, they did make it to one Super Bowl. I mean, when it's Rex Grossman against Peyton Manning, you don't have a lot of hope that you're actually going to be able to win that one. But, they were in it in the fourth quarter. They had a chance. They just, like Rex Grossman reared his ugly head. Is basically
yes, he did. But that defense was awesome.
That Lovie Smith defense with Brian Urlacher and Peanut Tillman and Lance Briggs, that whole crew, that was an excellent defense. Not quite 85 Bears level, but that's
true.
Since then, that without question, 2018 the Eddie Jackson Khalil Mack defense was a lot of fun, but those Lovie Smith defenses were the best they've had this century for sure.
In the offseason, you guys got to be head coach in Ben Johnson. What does he bring to the table for the Bears?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, look, the Bears need a really good head coach, and they've been searching for one. They haven't found one. I don't think a lot of Bears fans had faith in Matt Eberflus, even from the day he was hired. I mean, you always crossed your fingers, just didn't feel there. A lot of Bears fans had hopes for Matt Nagy, myself included. Things just didn't work out there. But Ben Johnson does feel different, and this fan base is really ignited because of it. And to me, it's one of these things where Ben Johnson, I'm not saying he is, but he has the opportunity to become one of these great elite offensive-minded head coaches in the league. The Sean McVays, the Kyle Shanahans, the Andy Reids, if we want to go old school. He has a chance to do that. And he's already done that in Detroit as an offensive coordinator. I mean, we saw what Jared Goff was before. Even with Sean McVay, Jared Goff wasn't spectacular. We see what Ben Johnson's done with Jared Goff. We've seen the kind of running game he can create in Detroit. So obviously, we want Ben Johnson as Bears fans to get here in Chicago, develop Caleb Williams. That's what's got to happen here. We know the Bears haven't had a really good quarterback. They haven't had a Hall of Fame level quarterback since Sid Luckman. I mean, we're talking 75 years. So there's a lot of work to be done here to bring this team into the modern era of football, so to speak. But Ben Johnson's offensive mind is really what he brings here, and hopefully his ability to develop Caleb Williams. There were questions if he could be that leader of men, and so far the early returns are really good. He's a hard nose. He's got attention for detail. He gets on the guys if they're not performing well. A lot of Bears players went to Ryan Poles, the general manager, and said, we need a coach who's going to hold us accountable. Matt Eberflus didn't do that. It looks like Ben Johnson is doing just that.
And do you agree with Caleb Williams is that guy for the Chicago Bears? Is he for real?
Yeah, look, I think he's for real. I mean, there are some plays he made last year that there is a handful of players in the league that can make that. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, like
Mhm.
those type of guys.
Yeah.
He can make the plays that those guys can make. Now, can he put together the full body of work that you need to be able to do? Can he be in the quick game? Can he avoid sacks? Can he do the things that you need to do to be a successful, but let's call it what it is. The Bears need a top 10 quarterback. Can Caleb Williams become a top 10 quarterback? It's definitely there in the cards. He is not there right now. His rookie season was interesting because Bears quarterbacks have been so bad. He actually had one of the best statistical seasons in Chicago Bears history in terms of quarterbacks. Forget rookie quarterbacks. I just mean quarterbacks. He was top 5 or 6 seasons ever. But still, when you put that up against the rest of the league, it was substandard, especially when you looked at advanced metrics. So he does have a ways to go. Now, to be fair to Caleb Williams, he had 3 offensive coordinators and 2 head coaches in one rookie season. That's not how you win. But hopefully here with Ben Johnson, things stabilize and the Bears here can get this together with Caleb Williams, because a lot of Bears fans, myself included, have this mentality. If it doesn't work with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, the Bears are never going to figure it out. This is their best chance they've had in a really long time.
You guys really think like that?
What's that?
You really think that way?
Yeah, well, it's tough, right? When, let's just go back the last 25 years.
Yeah.
Let's look at what the Bears have tried to do at quarterback. They draft Rex Grossman. Obviously, that didn't work out, but here's what they did. When they draft him, Dick Duran's the head coach. Mm-hmm. After his rookie season, they fire Dick Duran and they hire Lovie Smith. Things don't work out with Rex Grossman. A few years later, they trade 2 first-round picks for Jay Cutler. They hope it's going to work with Jay Cutler. What do they do with Jay Cutler? He basically has a new offensive coordinator every year he's in Chicago. So things never work out with Jay Cutler. Yeah. They move on to Mitch Trubisky. What they do to Mitch Trubisky? His rookie year, his head coach was John Fox. Second year, Matt Nagy. That doesn't work out. They try Justin Fields. First year, Matt Nagy. Second year, Matt Eberflus. Now Caleb Williams, they've done the same thing. First year, Matt Eberflus. Second year, Ben Johnson. Hopefully Ben Johnson is the right coach. So what the Bears have done for 25 years, if they've just screwed up quarterbacks. Jay Cutler could never have a consistent offense. All these rookies, they keep getting new head coaches where they have to basically, you got to learn a new playbook 3 straight years. You got your last year in college, your rookie year, then a new offensive coordinator, and a new head coach in year 2. There's no time for development if all you're trying to do is memorize playbooks. So the Bears keep doing things the wrong way, and they did it the wrong way with Caleb Williams again. Now, again, hopefully Ben Johnson's the right guy, but that's the thing. Like, if it doesn't work again, this is the most talented head coach they've had in, probably since George Halas, at least since Mike Ditka. Wow. And this is the most talented quarterback they've had since, probably ever. But Jim McMahon was a top 10, top 5 pick, whatever he was, 5th, 6th pick in the draft. Like, it's just like they just haven't had any success, and you just keep banging your head against the wall. Meanwhile, you as a Packers fan there, you just cruise from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, and all 3 of those guys, obviously Favre and Rodgers, would be the best quarterback the Bears have had in 40, 50 years.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. So I noticed in this draft, you guys took like a tight end in the first round.
Yep, Colston Loveland.
So what does that mean for? I forgot his.
Cole Kmet.
The other tight end you guys had.
Yeah, so I don't think it's as much of an impact as a lot of Bears fans do. Like when that first happened, like, oh, Cole Kmet's going to get cut or Cole Kmet's going to get traded. Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily the case because, of 12 personnel and what Ben Johnson likes to run 12 personnel. He did it a lot in Detroit. 2 tight ends on the field at the same time. Okay. Now, what he didn't have in Detroit is he only had one really good offensive pass catcher, and that was Sam Laporta from the tight end position. Yeah. Now he's going to have Colston Loveland, who we hope is in that Sam Laporta role, and Cole Kmet, who's a far better pass catcher than he ever had as that secondary receiving tight end in Detroit. So I think we're going to see a lot of Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland on the field at the same time. Now, again, if you're playing fantasy football or whatever, I would not rely on Cole Kmet to get you 650, 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. I don't think that's going to happen this year. No. But I do think he's going to play a good amount. I think the Bears can use 3 receiver sets like most of the league does, but I do think you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel because most teams don't have 2 tight ends that are this good. Cole Kmet is certainly not going to be confused with George Kittle or Travis Kelce, but he is a good player. He is pretty good at a lot of different things. And if that's your secondary tight end with Sam Laporta, with Colston Loveland, if he really is the guy, they're going to have a really good dynamic 2 tight end set. And I hate to bring up this name, but again, it feels like what the Patriots had, whatever it was, 10 years ago with Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski. Like that's the kind of thing they could have there on the field if Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland both work out. And as a plus, Kmet's got 3 years left on this contract extension he signed last year. 3 years from now is exactly when you'd have to pay Colston Loveland if he develops into a top tight end in the league. So you can keep Kmet while Loveland's on his rookie contract. Then you can let Kmet walk and sign Loveland to that extension.
And going back to last season, in the NFC North, every team had a winning record. But what happened to the Bears in the middle of the season? It looked like they were going to be cruising, and they just fell off.
Oh, they collapsed. You're not wrong about that. I mean, look, I think a lot of this came down to the head coach. It came down to Matt Eberflus. And basically, what I think happened is the Bears players basically quit on him because I think they gave up because I think they had this mentality that they were never going to be able to win with him. If we're being honest, after Matt Eberflus's second year, before Caleb Williams was drafted, he should have been fired. Like they went 7-10. There was improvement. They kept him thinking that maybe things would continue to get better. But there was a lot of signs the previous year in 2023 that Matt Eberflus wasn't the guy. There was some things that happened in-game decisions where you're like, I don't think this guy has it. So then you get to 2024, and the amount of decisions he made at the end of games that were just mind-boggling, and it started with the Hail Mary against the Washington Commanders. That was the game where like you said, they collapsed in the middle of the season. That was the point. They were 4-2. Then they go and lose to the Commanders in that fashion. And it wasn't just that they lost in a crushing blow that was a Hail Mary. The decisions that Matt Eberflus made, one, he gave them just a free pass to midfield instead of trying to play any kind of defense at all and try and make them work for those yards. He gave them the yards. The announcers said that, what are they doing? Why are they giving them this free yardage? Everyone was first guessing it. They get off the Hail Mary. Of course, Tyreek Stevenson's taunting fans. They did not really discipline him too much after that. So I think that probably plays into it. But at that point, when Matt Eberflus just has all the wrong decisions to stop a Hail Mary, which, let's be honest, you should never lose to a Hail Mary, especially in that situation. And then after that, it just kept going. They settle for a longer field goal against the Packers. They had more time. They had a timeout. They could have tried to gain 8 to 10 yards. The thing that everyone brings up with Cairo Santos, he's been with the Bears now, whatever it is, 4 or 5 years. He has literally never missed a field goal inside 40 yards. But outside of 40 yards, it's a little spotty. I think that field goal attempt against the Packers was 46, 47 yards. You have a timeout. You have the whole middle of the field to use. How about you try and gain 8, 10 more yards and get a chip shot for Cairo Santos? Nope. He settles for the longer field goal. It gets blocked. The Detroit Lions game on Thanksgiving, he doesn't call a timeout. We saw, national television. Like the amount of stupid decisions this guy made over and over and over. And I think at that point, when they finally fired Eberflus, the team was already in a tailspin. Thomas Brown wasn't going to be able to save it, and they just collapsed. I know they had the win against the Packers at the end of the season, which of course makes all Bears fans happy. Bears fans like to remind Packers fans on social media that the Packers are currently winless in 2025 while the Bears are undefeated. So we have that to hang our hat on. But yeah, hopefully Ben Johnson turns this around because Matt Eberflus was just, if we're being honest, one of the worst coaches the Bears have seen.
So do you think that Caleb Williams is an upgrade from Justin Fields?
I think he's definitely better than Justin Fields. I had high hopes for Justin Fields when he was drafted, but once you watch him play, you realize Justin Fields, he may be the best athlete. He's right there with Lamar Jackson in terms of athlete at the quarterback position. It's incredible what he can do. Running the football, it's incredible what he can do. But when he passes the football, he does not like to use the middle of the field. You can't be a successful quarterback just chipping away at the sidelines. He doesn't like to use the middle of the field because he's afraid he's going to turn the football over. He doesn't process the field quickly. So, I mean, basically, when Justin Fields had his best season with the Bears, there were only 3 people being used: DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, and the running back, which basically was he'd look for DJ Moore. If DJ Moore wasn't open, he'd just dump it off to Cole Kmet or a running back. That's all he could do. He couldn't go through his full progressions. Darnell Mooney went from incredible the first year with Justin Fields to a nobody in year 2 because he went from the first option to the second option when they acquired DJ Moore. So that's where Justin Fields' problem is. Then we see Darnell Mooney go to Atlanta. He has a tremendous season again. He's clearly a good receiver. But Justin Fields did not have the ability to go from his first read to his second read. He just went from his first read to the check down. He can't get through things quickly enough. So there's enough issues with Justin Fields' passing game. I don't think he's going to be very successful with the Jets. Honestly, I think the Jets are probably looking to have a bad season this year. And Justin Fields signed a 2-year deal. They'll draft a quarterback next year. Fields will be that bridge veteran, and then they'll fully pivot to that rookie quarterback. So I think Justin Fields is a better athlete. Caleb's a good athlete, but Justin Fields is a much better athlete than Caleb Williams. But in terms of being able to make the throws you need to be able to make to be a successful NFL quarterback, Caleb Williams has a lot better skills in that department than Fields does.
And I noticed that this offseason, the Bears focused on fixing that offensive line for Caleb Williams.
They had to fix the offensive line. I mean, look, Caleb Williams, not only did he lead the league in sacks last year, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. He was like 4 or 5 sacks away from having the NFL record for most sacked quarterback of all time. So,
really?
Yeah, it was that bad. Now, again, some of those sacks were on Caleb Williams, holding on to the football too long. I'm not going to sit here and blame everything on the offensive line. But the offensive line was a complete disaster last year. It was one of the worst in the league. It wasn't good at run blocking. It wasn't good at pass blocking. That's not a good combination to have. So they go out there. They had Darnell Wright, their first-round pick from a couple of years ago. He looks good at the right tackle position. But basically, they may change over all 4 other positions. They've already changed over 3 on the interior offensive line. They have 2 new guards and a new center, including Joe Thuney from the Chiefs, who's still playing at an all-pro level. So hopefully that interior offensive line was really bad last year. That was the weakest part of this team in terms of that offensive line. So they've already improved the interior. And then at left tackle, Braxton Jones may still be the starting left tackle this year, but they also drafted Ozzie Trapillo in the 2nd round, a Boston College tackle prospect. And Braxton Jones got hurt late in the season. So we're going to see if Ozzie Trapillo, Jones is still rehabbing his injury, if Ozzie Trapillo maybe gets a chance to jump him in training camp and start as well. So if Trapillo wins the job at left tackle, they will have 4 new offensive linemen starting this season.
Yeah. In your opinion, how long would it take for all 5 guys on the line to gel?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point, because the offensive line, it's the whole is always greater, than the sum of the parts kind of a thing. If you got cohesion like the Philadelphia Eagles are so good at, they just know each other's moves. It goes a long way. So basically what that comes down to is, can they all stay healthy in training camp? And again, I'm not saying like someone injures a knee and is out 2 months. I'm talking about those little nagging injuries, the tight hamstrings, the sore ankles, the things like that sits you out a couple days. Because if Joe Thuney's out a couple days, and then Drew Dolman, the center, he's out a couple days, and then Jonah Jackson, he's out a couple days. And, it's not like they're out at the same time. It's that they never have all 5 starting guys out there at the same time. That's going to make things more difficult in the regular season. If they have a training camp where those offensive linemen are mostly healthy, they're all going to miss practices from time to time. But if they're mostly healthy for training camp and preseason, that should be enough reps for them to gel pretty much. That was also one of the problems they had last offseason, was Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis, two guys that were banged up all the time and didn't play often. So they constantly had backups going in there. Nate Davis was a complete disaster, got cut in the middle of the season. But when you don't have that consistency in practice, because once you get to September, practices are meaningless. You know, you're installing plays one day. You have basically one practice a week, and then you have a walkthrough, and then they're done. So the practices don't matter as much in the regular season. The training camp and preseason, July and August, that's when you really practice together. It's really the only time of the year for that to happen. So if those guys can stay on the field and healthy during those months, I think they'll be okay in September. But if they have issues where these guys aren't playing together that often in August, it may spill into September where they may not be reading each other as well as they need to be.
So right now, looking at the Bears situation, where do you think the Bears should focus on? Defense or offense? Is there a weak position anywhere on the team?
The weakest positions on the team. So, I mean, if we go through it quickly, their secondary is really good. They've got they've paid more money for linebackers than I would have liked. They're okay. You know, TJ Edwards and Tremaine Evans are fine. They've added a lot of depth to the defensive line, to the interior defensive line. They don't have a lot of depth at edge. They have Dio Odengbo and Montez Sweat, which hopefully is a pretty good duo at defensive end. There's not much behind him, just Austin Booker, who's going to be a second-year player. So they don't have a lot of depth at edge. That could be a concern if they have some injuries there. Offensive line, we're going to see. I think they have a lot of talent at wide receiver and tight end. You know, between, you know, we mentioned Colston Loveland and we mentioned Cole Kmet, but they also have DJ Moore. They have Roma Dunze. They drafted Luther Burden. Olamide Zaccheaus is a guy that I don't think a lot of people know, but he had a really nice season in Washington last year. He's their fourth receiver. So I think that they have a lot of talent for Caleb Williams to find the football. The one concern I have in terms of starting positions is who is that main ball carrier? Who is that running back? I don't think DeAndre Swift is particularly very good. I think he's fine. If he was your second running back, I think you'd be okay with that. Primary ball carrier, I don't think that's great. You know, they have Roshan Johnson, who hasn't been quite as good as I think a lot of Bears fans hoped, myself included. And they drafted a seventh-round running back, Kyle Monangai from Rutgers, who I think is going to get an opportunity as well. But again, seventh-round pick, how much can you really trust him? So we'll see there. So I think that's the issue is DeAndre Swift. Is he good enough to run the ball? Now, again, he's going to have a better offensive line, better offensive play caller. So hopefully we'll see his numbers go up. But that would be my concern. I would say, you know, the Bears, they've done a lot with their offensive line and their receiving core and their tight ends where you're going to see these guys around for the next few years. Same with the defensive line and the secondary. But I think you're going to see a running back room that looks far different in 2026 than it does in 2025.
I have three more questions. We're done.
Okay.
If you could rank the team in the NFC North, who will be the number one and who will be number four?
Okay. This is an interesting question because ranking the teams in the NFC North are really difficult because I think all four of these teams are really close. Like if I look at the Packers, I would say the Packers are probably, I mean, they probably improved a little bit, but I think the Packers are going to be similar this season to what they were last season. But when you look at the Lions and the Vikings, the Lions lost 8 assistant coaches. 8. I don't know how they don't regress this year. And if Ben Johnson is as important to Jared Goff as I think, they may really regress. And the Vikings, while the Vikings still have a loaded roster, they have J.J. McCarthy. That's a huge question mark at quarterback. So I think you could see regression from the Vikings as well, just from the quarterback position alone. So, and I do think the Bears have improved. Now, again, 5-12. I'm not saying they're going to get up to being 12-5, but I do think you're going to see an improved Bears team. So when I look at this, I think you probably still have to give the nod to the Lions because they have talent and all, but I think that coaching staff is going to be an issue for them. So I would rank it Lions 1, I would rank Packers 2, I would rank Bears 3, and I would rank Vikings 4 because I have concerns. I mean, J.J. McCarthy has never played in the NFL. I think you just have to assume I'm not saying Sam Darnold's a superstar, but you just have to assume there's going to be regression there. I know Kevin O'Connell's an excellent quarterback guru, but I'm going to see some regression there. But at the same time, I think there's an opportunity here where like you could see the Lions or even the Packers win the division with 11 wins and the last place team in the division being like 8 or 9 wins. I think they could be that clustered together.
So under Ben Johnson's first year, what kind of record do you think would be a success under the rookie coach?
Success is interesting here because in theory, if they won 8 games coming off a 5-win season, I think most teams would say, all right, that was a success. We improved 3 games.
Yeah.
I don't think that's actually enough for the Bears to have success, to be considered a success this season. I think they at least have to tip it into a winning record. Now, again, this is assuming Caleb Williams stays mostly healthy. They have to get to 9-8. 10-7, I think the city would be doing backflips. But I think the big thing here is on, say, December 15th, right? The Bears and Packers are playing a couple times there at the end of the season. When the Bears and Packers are playing in December, are those games meaningful? Are both, again, if the Packers collapse, that's on them, but I don't think they will. Are both these teams fighting for a playoff spot at that point? And if they are, if the Bears are fighting for a playoff spot in week 16, week 17, week 18, even if they fall on the wrong side, I think that's successful because, to be honest, they just, when you get those graphics in the hunt, the Bears haven't been in the hunt since 2018. So.
Yeah. And the last question is, do you have any advice for other smaller YouTubers that do what we do?
My advice is you have to have a passion for it and you have to have patience. I think that's important for any content creator who wants to get into this. You're not going to just like sit down, open a YouTube page and start making a couple $1,000s a month. That's not how this works. You're not going to be making anything. Like you want to do this because you're passionate for it and you love your team and you love what you cover. And at that, you gotta keep moving forward on it. Like I also work in sports media for my full-time job. That's a nice benefit for me. But create a podcast and give yourself reps. The first time you do a podcast, then make 10 more, and then go back and listen to your first podcast and find out how much better your 10th podcast was to your first podcast and how much better your 50th podcast would be to your 10th podcast. You will continue to improve. So make sure you're always going back and listening to yourself. Go listen to established podcasts where you have established broadcasters who are professionals at this. Listen to how they do it. I'm not saying copy them. You got to find your own voice, but you have to keep self-assessing yourself. You don't have a producer or a program director who's going to sit you down and be like, you need to improve here and here. You have to figure that out yourself. So you got to listen and get an ear for it, and then go back and listen to yourself and be able to critique yourself. And like I said, have patience. I mean, this is the kind of thing where I've been making podcasts and stuff for almost 10 years now. Wow. And I do it. I don't do it because I'm sitting here hoping I'm going to be a millionaire one day. I do it because I love covering the Chicago Bears. So that's what I think. It's patience, it's passion, and it's the ability to self-critique.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for getting up early and doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed our conversation and anytime.
All right. Is there anything that you want to plug or?
Sure. For really good Bears content, go to Windy City Gridiron. It's part of the SB Nation umbrella. You'll find my articles there. I'm currently doing a series on the 10 Chicago Bears with the most to prove in 2025. We've unveiled about 5 of them so far. You can check out that series there. And then my podcast is on a feed called Second City Gridiron. So search Second City Gridiron there. There's a few podcasts that live under that feed. Mine is called Bears Banter. We just did a podcast with one of our beat writers there, kind of wrapping up OTAs and minicamp. We'll have another one in a couple weeks with another beat writer on the Chicago Bears beat, previewing training camp and getting you set for that.
Cool. All right. Once again, thank you so much.
And thank you.
I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.